Have you tried talking to your aging parents about death? Have you been met with the lines, "Oh, I don't care, just put me out to pasture," or "Just shoot me, I'm not going to a nursing home"? Yeah, so have I. And while we may be empathetic, off-the-cuff lines like this are a massive pain in the ass for adult children, and they're in no way helpful. So let's talk having a constructive conversation about death with your aging parents. Now for this video, we're going to assume that you're in your 30s, 40s, and your parents are 65 plus. So starting retirement or all the way in. So they may not yet be elderly, but they're certainly over halfway. Now, if I could address the boomers directly for a second about those previous comments that we hear all too often. Saying off-the-cuff comments like, "Just shoot me," is cruel. Here's why. Firstly, that's not a great image to put in your kid's head. But secondly, it shows no empathy for the grief that your kids will be going through as you become elderly and pass on. You should realise this from having witnessed your parents' end of life. Nowadays, death is not short, far from it. Often it is long, overdrawn process, thanks to the way the medical system is now implemented. So if we take those lines that you've just spouted and put them into effect, did you want to be shot at the doctor's office during the diagnosis appointment, or perhaps shall we wait till, next week on Tuesday after the football siren goes? At what point along the spectrum of your dementia did you want us to whip out that gun? See how stupid that sounds? "Oh, you're just being stupid. Of course that's not what I meant," you groan. So you need to make some decisions and have some conversations with your kids so they have a guide as to what your wishes are. And if you choose to be stubborn and not have these conversations, you cannot blame your children for not knowing what you want. As they say, you made your bed, you lie in it. Okay, back to the adult kids. Why these conversations need to happen. As we've said in many videos, the death conversation should be ongoing, building up more depth and complexity as life gets more complex. Marriages happen, divorce happens, children happen, illness, finances, commitments all change. And when talking to your parents, you need to know what their end of life wishes are. Because being in that position and not knowing is extremely stressful and can lead to a lot of guilt and anger. Now, this conversation sounds relatively simple, but the problem is, like we said earlier, death nowadays is often a long process. So you not only need to talk to your parents, but you also need to research the options within your area. What do we need to talk about? Many people know talking to their aging parents about death is something they need to do. But when it comes time to do it, blank. Now, every family is different, and obviously you have to keep in mind your own religion, culture, family traditions. But here are the general themes that you should be talking about. End of life wishes. If they are able to choose, how do they want to spend their last few days? At home, in a hospice, in hospital? Is voluntary assisted dying an option for them? Advanced care directives. If your parent is unconscious or unable to communicate, what attitudes and beliefs do they hold about their health care? Do they want to be kept on a ventilator? If they have been declared brain dead, do they want the machines left on or turned off? Are they an organ donor? Funeral wishes. Do they have any opinions about what they want for their funeral and how they want their body to be disposed of? Will. Do they have a will? Has it been updated? Where is it located? How do we make these conversations happen? Let's put it out there. If your plan is to go to your folks' place at Sunday 4 p.m, sit them down and ask them straight up these questions with no prior warning, it won't work. I can guarantee you that. Think of it from their perspective. They're having a lovely day, they got a nice visit from you, sat down for a coffee, and bam, death thoughts. That's not cool. So here are my pointers. Start the conversation when everyone is still healthy. Now, obviously this can't always happen, but by doing so, the conversation feels less threatening. It's just a hypothetical conversation rather than decision making. This means that their thoughts and opinions are not as overly clouded by fear, and they're in the right state of mind in order to do any legal paperwork, such as their will, advanced care directive, funeral insurance, advanced planning for body disposal if needed, and organ donor registration. Use a conversation starter. Bringing up topics like this in conversation can seem very forced and unnatural, and that makes everyone uneasy. So always have an eye out for conversation starters. A news article about a family's tough end-of-life decision, a movie about fulfilling your bucket list, a humorous comic strip about God, a current family situation. It can be anything. Hell, look back on some of our videos and I guarantee you'll find something to help you ease you into that conversation. I may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I like to think that I help liven the mood a little. Remember, you can't have one conversation about everything. So a bit here, a bit there is the way to go. Humour. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Use humour when having a difficult conversation. Nothing crass, just a bit to break the tension. Death can be funny if you allow it to be. It's how funeral directors, medical teams, mortuary workers get through the day. Now, you don't want to deflect the conversation. You want people's heart rate to come back down enough that they can have the conversation. Do your research. Now, I'm not necessarily saying bring a whole file with you, but you should have done your research about the options available within your area. The various different housing options, caring, medical options, various insurance policies and seniors benefits that are available. Question your doctor and hopefully your parents' doctor about what they are willing to provide for end-of-life care. Find out if voluntary assisted dying is an option. Remember, a lot of these things weren't available when your parents were your age. And I'll put a few helpful links in the description below to help you start. Know your parents' personality. Is your parent more of a feeling person? Then ask them what things worry them about death and dying, and then help them connect the dots. A feeling leads to a thought, which leads to an action. But perhaps your parent is more of a fact-orientated person. Then bring your research and prepare to be logical about it. Be prepared for their opinions to be different to yours. Say everyone in your family has been buried, but your mum wants to be cremated. Or you wouldn't want to be kept on a ventilator indefinitely, but your father said that he would prefer that. They are the ones who will be dying. Their say comes first. Don't argue with them, especially if you're the one who brought up the conversation in the first place. Let me give you an example. My grandfather spent most of his life working up north in the Kimberley, and he always said that when he died, he wanted his body to be taken up there to be eaten by crocs. Now, we knew the likelihood of this was very low, and indeed when he did die we called up the agriculture department and they were like, hell no. The point is we didn't argue with him, but we did ask for a plan B. And a couple months after my grandfather's death, my mother was hanging out the side of a plane scattering his ashes over the Kimberley. My point is, make sure your parents tell you why they have made a particular choice and always have a plan B, regardless of whether it's a pre or post-death decision. Less talking, more listening. Be prepared for your parents to get angry or defensive. Alright, so a bit of psych talk here. If someone is being defensive, it is usually because they are insecure. Insecure about their beliefs, their argument, their safety, their identity, their position, whatever. And often parents will feel attacked when their kids try to get them to talk about death, even if you mentioned it in the most passive of ways. The old, "you just want me dead" line comes out. Now, you know your parents, so you may have seen this coming. I know I sure as hell did. But sometimes their defense comes out of nowhere from someone who doesn't usually act this way. Be prepared. Understand that there is some sort of insecurity behind that defense, and it's usually, in this case, fear or anxiety. Don't react to the defense mechanism, react to the fear. Use feelings and I statements like, "I am scared of what will happen if you get sick." Or, "I would feel guilty if the time came and I didn't know what you wanted." Be prepared to talk about your death opinions. Let's not make this a one-sided interrogation. Some people are good at talking about themselves, and if that's your parent, great. But many aren't. So be prepared for a bit of a quid pro quo. Use this time to work out what you would want for your end-of-life plan. You should be letting other people know what you want as well, because let's face it, people in their 30s and 40s drop dead all the time, even healthy ones. If you open up and put forth ideas, it will help them open up. Talking to your aging parents about death and dying can be difficult. Many parents won't bring it up because they don't want to upset their adult children, and many adult children don't bring it up because, well, the same reasons. But it is a topic that needs to come out in the open for everyone's benefit. So even if the first conversation goes badly, try it again later. Hopefully it will be a bit more fruitful, but if not, at least you know you've tried. We have plenty of videos on this channel that will help you along with all of this. Remember, preparation, humour and patience are key. And with that, go talk death.